Hi everyone, it's Gia. Welcome to my channel, or if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. On this channel we talk about things like minimalism, frugal living, saving money, and sometimes just random things that I feel like talking about. And today I would like to talk about something that's, a bit random. Today I want to talk about things that I've learned in my 20s. I am 29, I'll be 30 in, February of next year, so about half a year still to go. But I have learnt so much in my 20s, and if you told me when I turned 20 that I'd be bringing all this knowledge into my 30s, I'd just be like, I wouldn't have bought it. But if you're younger and you're struggling with things and you just want life to make more sense, I promise you it will as soon as you start getting more life experience and you get a little bit older. There's so much you are going to learn along the way in your 20s. So here are some things that I have learnt in my 20s that I'm so glad that I have, and I wish I had them, when I turned 20, so I didn't have to go through all the crap, but that is life. The first thing that I've learned in my 20s is don't let others' opinions shape who you are. Don't conform to who others want you to be. Be authentically true to yourself. Don't feel like you need to be somebody different for somebody else. We have to live with ourselves, and we need to be happy with who we are and be content in our own skin. So don't let others shape you. Don't let others dictate who you are or like the things that you're interested in. The next point is know your worth. Oh my god, I wish I had this earlier on. I would have saved myself so much hassle and so much heartache. But when you're younger and you're growing up, there is so much expectation to be who others want you to be, and in all of that we sometimes forget who we are and we forget our value, and we just compromise who we are to appease other people, and that can wind us up in some very sus situations with some very sus people who don't really deserve our time or our energy. But if you told me back then, I would have just been like, I wouldn't have listened. But I am now older and wiser, and I know that it is so important to know your worth and your value and to not let others cheapen you, particularly in like relationships and things like that. So don't compromise who you are to keep someone around who probably is not worth it if they're wanting you to compromise your entire identity. It's just no. Another point is have constructive coping mechanisms, because I spent the majority of my 20s basically just destroying myself and having the worst coping mechanisms possible. And it just, completely sucked the life out of me. I would say learn healthy coping mechanisms that can help you propel forward in life, because it is so easy to get stuck in a cycle and a mindset and just absolutely destroy your own life. Like, life is stressful. Life is so stressful. And sometimes it's just quick and it's easy to have an unhealthy coping mechanism, whether that be drinking, drugs, partying. If you look why you're doing stuff and the reasons behind it, it's usually always a stress-related thing, trauma-related. There's always some reason. So to have healthy coping mechanisms in place is so helpful, and it will save you so much hassle and so much pain. Trust me on this one, because I spent the majority of my 20s having to unlearn all of these terrible coping mechanisms that I'd picked up, and to replace them with things that were actually good for me and healthy. So that's a really big one. Another point is allow yourself to grow and don't get stuck. Don't get comfortable. Don't think that because you have a certain mindset and a certain way of thinking right now that is always going to be the way you think, because that will stagnate you and it will hinder growth along the way. And it's so important to just keep growing and evolving as a person. I was always very black and white thinking and just being like, well, this is how I am now, this is how I'm always going to be. But accepting that life changes, you change as life goes on, just accepting that change is inevitable and growth comes with change, and you need to change with it, or you're just going to get stuck and you're going to become miserable. Don't compromise your values or anything, but accept that change is a part of life and growth is a part of life, and a very healthy part of life too. Give yourself permission to leave relationships and friendships that no longer serve you. This was a big one for me. I was in relationships for the majority of my 20s, in and out of relationships, I should say. My longest one was on and off for about 7 years. And while I don't necessarily regret that one, there's a lot of aspects that I would have done totally different. Don't compromise who you are, and don't feel like you need to stay with somebody just because you've put energy and time into being with them and you feel like you're obligated to. That was a big one for me, where I was like, well, I put so much time and effort into this relationship, I might as well just, stick with it. And it is good to stick with relationships that are healthy for you and to, communicate and overcome barriers and hurdles along the way. But if you are in a toxic or an unhealthy relationship, you are allowed to leave. You're allowed to move on. Give yourself permission to leave when it's time to go. You don't have to stay tethered to somebody forever just because you feel obligated to, because you've put time and effort into the relationship or the friendship. And you're allowed to outgrow people. I've outgrown most of my friendships over the years, because a lot of my friendships in my 20s were formed from partying culture, drinking culture, from when I first started going out and stuff. And that was when I stopped drinking, it was a shock to my system to realise that the majority of my friends were friends because I was drinking. And when I stopped drinking, it was sort of, well, now what? They still wanted to keep drinking, I didn't, so you lose friendships along the way. And if that's your common denominator is going out and getting hammered, then I hate to say the friendship probably wasn't that healthy to begin with, but you're allowed to form new friendships and connections as you get older, and you're allowed to let old ones go. You're allowed to cut ties, and that's okay, and it's healthy. You need to grow with people, and if they're holding you back, then give yourself permission to cut them loose and move on. Don't be self-conscious. This is easier said than done, but as you get older, you really stop caring as much what other people think of you. We are our own main characters. We think we're in our heads all the time, and we think people are paying as much attention to us as we're giving ourselves. But it's a very almost a narcissistic view that we all have of the world, our internal dialogue. People really are not paying you the attention that you think they are, and they really are not noticing. So if you think you're weird or awkward or something, high chance people are hardly noticing. Or if they do notice, they'll probably remember for maybe a couple of minutes, and then you'll be gone from their brain. So don't be self-conscious. If you want to do something and if you want to try something new, don't be scared to give it a go. The worst you can do is, when the worst that happens is, you make a bit of a fool of yourself. People, they might have a little giggle about it, and then everyone moves on, and then no one cares and no one remembers. You're the only one who's giving it all this thought. Other people really aren't. So, don't be self-conscious to do what you want to do and be who you want to be. Another point is to invest in yourself and experiences rather than things. Because how often do we get something new and then we just, we get the original dopamine from it and then we completely forget about it, and it's just stuff and clutter at the end of the day. And this channel obviously has a lot to do. I talk about minimalism quite a bit, and it's true. It's the things that we buy and the things that we put our money in is just things at the end of the day. It's more important to invest in people, in your relationships, in yourself, and in experiences rather than materialistic things, in my opinion anyway. Another point is to love hard, but don't be stupid about it. And this is something that I always struggled with, and I still do struggle with. I'd say my attachment style is quite anxious avoidant, and it's always been an issue, so I now have to consciously overcome that. As somebody who was always quite avoidant in relationships, it was very hard for me to fully invest myself in another person for fear of being hurt, as a lot of us are scared of. But at the same time, I was also, anxious as well. So the avoidance would kind of come out of the other side of that. So for me, it was very difficult to fully connect with somebody and to really give them my all. But now that I'm older, I've kind of gone, well, the worst that can happen is, we might break up one day or something like that, and that's really going to suck, but I know that I'm strong enough in myself now that I will be okay. So it's okay to love hard and to just, invest in people, invest in the relationship, and not be scared to, if it doesn't work out or something, and then holding yourself back because you're scared it's just not gonna work. And that is something that I do regret, because I was always 1 foot out the door mentally. I was like, I couldn't fully invest in the other person. I couldn't get comfortable, knowing now I was just with the wrong people. I'm now in a wonderful relationship and I'm not having that issue. So to really listen to your intuition too when it comes to people. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. If you start ignoring red flags early on, it's just going to keep compounding and you are going to have to deal with it at some point. So when it comes to people and relationships, trust your gut on a lot of things, because it's usually always right. And if it's picking up on something that's a little bit sus, really listen to it, okay? It's because I used to ignore all the red flags and I'd be like, well, I can fix them, and no, you can't fix other people. You can only fix yourself. You can't fix others. So yeah, if your gut is telling you that something's amiss, it probably is, and you should listen to it. Another point is the right people will appear in your life when growth starts happening. I always wondered why I was constantly surrounded by people who were no good for me, who were just self-destructive and were just bringing me down all the time. But that's because I hadn't healed. I hadn't healed any of my trauma, any of my issues, and I was just constantly bombarded and surrounded by people who were just reflecting me back to me. And vice versa, I imagine. I was in a bad place and they were in bad places, and we were just kind of bonding over our darkness, I guess, our, poor coping mechanisms, and just, there was no growth. We were all just stagnant. We were all just kind of, one person was trying to climb out and the other one was dragging them down, and we're just constantly in this cycle. But then when I started to heal and I started to grow as a person, suddenly new people started coming into my life, people that I had never even considered, befriending or getting in relationships with, where it was just such different personalities and such different people than what I was used to. But that's because I'd started healing, and that was attracting people who were also on that journey of healing as well. So you do find new people along the way in your life. You're not always going to be surrounded by the same people. Don't be scared that you are not, going to have good people in your life. Don't be scared of being alone or lonely, because as soon as you start growing, you will find that you are suddenly finding people who are reflecting your new growth back to you, and you are then creating new communities in your life and new friendships and new connections. So yeah, don't be scared that, you're always going to walk alone or something, or you're always going to be surrounded by shitty people, because, as soon as you start growing, then yeah, people will start appearing, good people will start appearing in your life. Be weird. Be very, very weird. Be authentically you. And we are all so weird, in our own ways. Don't be scared and don't be worried about others' opinions of you. Just be you. Dress how you want. Do what you want. Live a life that's out of the norm. We've only got the one life. Don't be scared to be authentically you, and don't be scared, what other people are going to think. Because at the end of the day, who cares? Everyone is so worried about their own lives and themselves. No one's paying you that attention that you think, they are, because they're not. So just be you. Honestly, it's so freeing, and you're just going to feel so much lighter, and it's just be weird. Always work on yourself, and sometimes you are the problem. We don't like to admit when we're wrong. We don't like to be well, it's actually our fault. It's actually probably not the other person's fault. It takes courage to admit when we're wrong, because it's easy to point the finger and blame everybody else around us for the issues, but sometimes it is us. Sometimes we are the toxic ones. Sometimes we are the problem. And to do that inner work on ourselves and to heal ourselves will then start to, change our lives and the lives of other people's around us too, because, we're then suddenly good influences, and we're just, bringing light and positivity into other people's lives as well as our own. So don't just always assume that other people are the issue. Really take a long, hard look at yourself. Find where your faults are and what you could be doing differently, and work on those. Work on yourself constantly to better yourself as a person. Another point is realizing that you can only control yourself You cannot control other people. And when I realised this, it was such a relief, because I am somebody who likes to know what's going on. I like to be in control of situations. Like, I have an issue with like micromanaging everything I possibly can, because it's like, it's something I'm constantly having to work on because I don't like feeling out of control. So when other people throw that spanner in the works, I then try to go, how do I, manage this situation? How do I control this situation? And then realizing I don't have to control that situation. I don't need to control other people and what they're doing. That's on them. I can only control myself and what I'm doing, really, and how I'm behaving. I can't control other people. If other people are not acting the way that I would like them to act, or they're like disrespectful or anything like that, I don't need to have them in my life. I can cut people out. I don't need to micromanage other people to get, what I need. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as they're, that's on them. I don't need to try to fix other people. And I wish I knew this earlier, because I would get into relationships and I'd try to fix the relationship. I'd try to fix the other person. I had that whole lost puppy thing where it was like, I can fix them. Don't do that. Please don't do that. And as women in particular, we are very drawn to trying to fix others. And it's just, it is so draining. You can't. Other people need to fix themselves. You cannot fix other people. You can be there for other people. You can support other people. But at the end of the day, they need to do the hard work on themselves. You can't be that person. If they want to talk and they want advice, be there. But don't overstep and don't fix their problems for them. Never tolerate mistreatment. I was in friendships, relationships, jobs where it was just, I took a lot. Like there's a degree, particularly in like workplaces, where it's like, yeah, okay, you're not going to get everything you want. But there is some give and take in most things in life. But the mistreatment, it's just, when people start taking advantage, get out. Because the longer you stick around, the more you'll get used to the mistreatment. It will start shaping how you see things and view things, and it will just, it's not healthy. It's so toxic. And you'll get used to it. That's the issue, because it starts wearing down on you. The more mistreatment that you're accepting, the more you'll accept in the future. When you start putting your foot down and going, hey, I'm actually not going to tolerate this. I don't need to tolerate this. It is such a freeing feeling, and you don't need to stick around to just, deal with the crap, You don't have to, be a doormat. And I was like such a people pleaser for most of my 20s. It's only been in the past few years where I've just kind of put my foot down and I'm just saying no a lot more. I'm not tolerating abuse. I'm not tolerating crap from people or mistreatment. It's just, I'm done. As soon as you start realizing your worth and your value, you stop accepting the mistreatment. You just start, you realize you're worth more than that, and you don't let people treat you like crap. Like, it's a little bit uncomfortable at the start, saying no, putting your foot down. People will, act a bit, ooh, what's going on there? But stay firm with your beliefs, and be, true to who you are, and stand firm, and don't take the crap. So thank you for watching. This was a bit of a random video where I was just like, I don't know, I just wanted to film this. I guess just some like advice for like particularly people in their younger 20s, or late teenagers coming into their 20s, just realizing that I know you feel the way you do now, but as your 20s go on and you hit 30, it's going to be so much different. Like, you are going to grow and change as a person, and realizing you're not stuck. Your life is going to be constantly growing and evolving, and realizing your worth, your value, all these things. It's just, trust me on this one, okay? It's just going to get better. Like, you may feel depressed, you may feel anxious, you may feel, overwhelmed now, but, life does get better, and you do develop better coping mechanisms, better connections, better friendships, better relationships. It's just realizing growth is inevitable, and you are going to keep evolving and changing as a person, but sticking true to who you are and your values is so important. So I hope that this has helped. This is just my experience anyway. As a 29-year-old going on 30 soon, this is just what I've learned. So Yes, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!